So today I want to share something with you which has been requested on Instagram, or rather I put a picture up of my floral embroidery and ask if you would like to know how to transfer and how to create something like this. So basically, if you're not familiar, this is design that I created by using my floral stamp set. I have used this, is it this rose? I'm trying to think. No, I think it's actually this one. Yes, so it's this rose and then these leaves right here. So the set of 2 and 1 and this rose is all I used to create this. So you could create a lot more. As you can see, you can stamp out like so many different floral clusters, and they're quite handy when it comes to embroidery, as I realized. So this is exactly the same, just in a drawing with ink, and then I'll show you from my sketchbook. So here we go, these ones. I've done a tutorial for these roses, so I'll try to link it up here for you. Basically, I really fancy this image and I have traced it, transferred it onto the fabric and then embroidered. So today is going to be not about the techniques of embroidery and all the different stitches you can do, but how to transfer images onto fabrics and what you need, and a few tips along that, which I think are quite useful because I learned as I went. Okay, so first of all, what you need to do is decide on a design that you like. So let's say, for instance, that I quite like this rose this time, yeah? So, but you could do any design that you want. So you can print out or stamp out rather any floral design that you fancy. So here you can see it's just leaves. You could also do it with the face stamps, which I am attempting to do at some point, but I haven't gotten around to do it. So you can create a face illustration with this stamp set, which is FOTD, and then add some floral design on top, and then you could also embroider that. I'll show you from another sketchbook where I have more examples. There's a playlist now called something my clear stamp tutorials, I believe. So all of the tutorials I included there, including yeah, both of the sets. So the FOTD, the clear, the FOTD, the florals, and also the wildflowers if you are new to this channel. So these are the wildflowers: buttercup, pansy, lavender, and waxflower. Okay, so they're all available at my ESSIE shop, Alyona Creates. So I'm just trying to find the images here to show you. So again, a composition of 2. So here is the floral cluster that you can create. There are some more you know, a little bit more complicated floral clusters. Actually, I really like this one. I think I will trace this one today. There's the hydrangea you can create. There's some more kind of abstract-y, or rather modern bits and pieces you can do, or you can do something like that. You could take a hoop and just create a composition, like for instance these 3, or you could put the 4th one up here to fill the space. Let's see, there's some more complicated that you could do on a larger scale if you had a larger hoop, or you could leave this one out and just do this composition like that. There's some more floral compositions on the face. There's some beautiful ones here. So you get the idea, but I think I'm going to do this one today actually. Okay, so first of all, you start by stamping out your design. So imagine this is what you're going to embroider. So for that we will need tracing paper, which I have here. Let me just move things around so I can explain better. Okay, so here's two things you will need. You'll need tracing paper, which is this one is transparent transparent paper, and in this case it's 100 GSM, so it's a thicker tracing paper. You can get thinner ones if you fancy, but I wanted to also be able to do a bit of illustrating on them, so that's why I got mine to be thicker, so it's a bit more, yeah, substantial. And then the other tracing paper you will need is the carbon transferring paper. So again, quite a lot of it, but it is what it is. Mine one, actually I forgot to mention it in the haul. Mine came with these tools, which look like exactly the same tools you would use in nail art, but apparently you can use them for tracing. I'm not sure how comfortable I find them. I think just the pencil would do quite nicely, because this one seems to be pushing through the tracing paper a bit too much, kind of breaking it. The other thing I would suggest is you need a hard surface. So let's get ready. Okay, so I got my cutting mat, which is double-sided, so I'll go on this side here. And I have also cut two small pieces of both the transparent tracing paper and the carbon transferring paper, and you'll notice that the carbon paper has two sides. Now the side that is glossy and dark is where the ink is, and then you will need to put it down, facing down, but we'll get there, so I'll explain to you in a minute. So first of all, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our desired design and sort of place it in the middle of your tracing paper. You could also use a bit of washi tape to make sure your design is not moving around, but I think I will leave mine like that. I'm not going to trace the other image, okay? So, but imagine you've done a bigger or more detailed image. So what you're going to do now is you need your fabric. So pick your fabric and place it down with the side that you will be embroidering on top, if that makes sense. Then you're going to take your carbon paper and put it ink side down, like so. And then you're going to place your tracing paper with the desired image right here, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put it in the middle. Obviously think about the composition, you want it to be central. And now you could use the, let's in fact do that. I'm going to use the tool that came with it, and I'm gonna just, yeah, this actually works much better on a harder surface, because before I didn't do it on the mat, I went straight onto my desk, and underneath this paper I have a soft desk mat, which basically makes your tool kind of dive in, and that breaks the tracing paper, if that makes sense. So on a harder surface, it's actually really good. It's not breaking anything. And I can push really hard. So you want to push as hard as you can so that the image transfers really well. The harder you push, the better the ink gets transferred onto the fabric. And then the leaves. Okay, now you lift and there is your image. So basically there is a thinner end, and if I could show you on the side here somewhere the difference. So here is, yeah, so here is what I went with. Around a bigger ball, and then this is the thinner one. So the thinner you go, the key is to have hard surface, the finer the line will be. So if you don't want your lines to be as thick because you might think it might be visible underneath or something like that, then just go with the thinner point. But the key is hard surface. I couldn't repeat it anymore because it actually made such a big difference. Okay, so when you have your image nice and clear, it is the first thing to help make it easy when it comes to embroidery. So we've done that. The next thing you will need to do is you'll need to get your hoop ready. So these hoops are great. So this is a plastic one which you can't really hang or do anything with it. It's a working one. So once you've done with this image, you would have to transfer it onto one of these to be able to hang it. So you can work straight onto the one that you will be hanging up and you know, assembling on your wall if you wanted to have your embroidery there. So there's this plastic sticky which you need to remove, and then you can see this little screw here. So you just loosen it up. You will need to place this inner loop underneath your fabric and then place the fabric as you want the design to be. So keep in mind you shouldn't go too kind of close to the edge of the fabric because that could come out easily. So always keep in mind to cut your fabric a little extra. And then you're going to go on top with this loop like that, and you're going to secure it like so, nice and tight. Okay, and then just pull to make it tighter wherever you need to make it tighter. You'll just see that the fabric might be might have a little wave, so you want it nice and flat, and that's how you do it basically. There you go, so that's ready. Next thing, let's talk about the threads. So I highly advise you go and watch my embroidery haul, which I will link up here for you, where I mention these boxes. I'll link them down below again. They make your life so much more pleasant in terms of embroidery life because you can have everything organized and see exactly what colors you have and how much of it you have. For instance, you know, I can see that this is kind of running low, so if I wanted to embroider a big flower with it, I would know that I need to go and buy more of that color, etc, etc. So it's a great overview that you have when you display and keep your threads like this. Now so the other thing which is quite important to mention here is the brand of the embroidery thread. I have a few brands here. I have Anchor, I have DMC, and I have something which I ordered on Amazon and it said something Mexican, but I wasn't sure what the brand was exactly, so what did I write? It had that like a D and inside an N in there. So the colors are super bright, so I kept mine separate, and then these are DMC, which are the variegated colors, which means it goes from a lighter to a darker, and it sort of goes in a cycle like that. So this is actually what I used for this rose. So especially if you're a beginner and you like to have a bit of depth to the floral embroidery, you don't need to change the embroidery thread, and you don't need to go and buy 3 or 4 different colors. You just use one of those variegated ones, which is, which one did I use? I think I used this one actually here. Yeah, that's the one I used. So DMC 99, the variegated color, and so that does the job for you. So it's fantastic for not needing to cut and change and buy multiple colors. You just go for one color and that kind of covers you. It's got at least 4 to 5 shades in there. So that's how I did that. Now, once you've done that and you decided what brand, also speaking of brand, so I found that this one, because it was the most affordable, it also, the quality you can really feel. I mean, I used this green from this thread here, which was okay, but it wasn't as easy to embroider with as, for instance, with DMC. So this DMC, this is not, there was another one which was DMC, this one here. It's, you can see the difference maybe, I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but the DMC one has more that silkier kind of finish to it, and the silkier the embroidery thread is, the easier it will be to embroider with, because it will just glide through the fabric. It will glide through these little areas that you're trying to push the needle through. Okay, so that's quite useful. Now, but again, whatever you can get your hands on at the minute, because obviously we can't really go out in the shops and buy anything yet, whenever that day will come. So just get whatever you can and then kind of practice with it. But that's just my tip. If you can get a silkier and a smoother embroidery thread, then I would recommend, because it just makes it a lot simpler. And what else? So needles, that's another important thing, because if you can see, like these two leaves, they have a bit of a texture which kind of is okay, but I liked it when it was more smoother. That is not only depending on the actual quality of the thread, but it also depends a lot on the needle, because if you go with a needle that will be like catching a lot and getting your threads like knotted and looped and, you know, all that sort of malarkey, then you will end up with a less smooth finish, and you'll have this like fuzzy thread because it will be breaking and stuff. So basically what I would recommend is this. I got this holder, which I mentioned again in the haul. I'll try to link up all of it again, but it's holder that came with two types of needles. So I don't know if you can find it on its own and just buy separately these needles, because the other ones, which are the, so can you see here, there's a hook that you put the thread in here, so they're easier to hook the thread. And then these were really creating a lot of issues, but these, which you can see it has a hole on top of the needle, then they are a lot easier to use, and they were really, really good. So what else was I going to show? Oh yeah, I skipped this bit here. So when you buy embroidery threads, this is what they look like. So here's a typical one. It comes in looking like that, and then you need to organize them. So these plastic spools that you can see that I used, they came in when, so these ones here, they came in when I bought these plastic containers. So then you just wind it up, and that's how you keep your embroidery threads looking like this. So originally they come like that. And the needle, oh, I wanted to show you how to thread this needle, because there's a little trick to it and I haven't seen it. I had to figure it out myself, and I wish someone would have told me so that I wouldn't break a needle. So I will show you quickly. So basically I'll take a little bit of this thread and demo it on this. So here we go. So every embroidery thread has 6 threads in there. So what you should do is kind of get as much thread as you want. Say for instance that's how long you want it, but you would want it of course longer. What you're going to do is loop the thread on your thumb, and then kind of twist the thread to the side that unwinds it and makes them kind of easy to, so I'll show you. So imagine like that, right? So now I can easily separate the threads. Can you see? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take in half of the threads, so like that, roughly, you don't need to be precise, and I'm going to take my needle head and just tease them slowly in. It might take you a few goes to do that with. They're also very, very cheap, so I guess that's to be expected. Okay, so let's try again. Once you get it in, it's quite easy, and to be honest with you, it didn't take me that long with all my previous ones, so I don't know what the problem is. There we go, so I got it in. So just make sure now, check how many you got in, and you can see there's only one that's still out. So pushing the needle, here we go, you can see one is out. So I'm just going to push that one in as well, and that's it. So try to not tease as much, because that will potentially, you know, break apart the thread, and then just pull it. You can see it's pulling really easily. So that's it, that's all you need to do. So if you're struggling, it might be that there's something wrong with the actual needle. So in my case it is. I'm going to put it back in here so I know. What else can I think? And scissors. I think this is the last thing. Scissors are really key, so go for something that's extremely sharp and just can snip it off with leaving a super clean and like that. So scissors might sometimes tease the embroidery thread, or you know, these are very quick to use, so nothing gets stuck, and that's it. So that's it really. I hope this was somewhat useful for you if you're a complete beginner, and yeah, check out my clear stamps if you want to create something like that. And that is it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.